Good afternoon and welcome to the Daily News Analysis by Civil Service Institute, Pala. Let's check what are the top stories of the day. India's population nearing 147 crore, says United Nations Populations Fund. Then there was an article about initiate proceedings to elect Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha. Similarly, why Kerala wants Wildlife Act to be amended. And we will also be looking at certain PYQs from the past years. So let's dive into the first article. This news article is from the Hindu. So in this article, it's been said India's population has already crossed 146 crore and is nearing 147 crore by the month of April this year. And this UN demographic report also mentions that our country's total fertility rate has declined to 1.9, which is below the replacement level of 2.1. So from the prelims perspective, TFR and replacement level becomes important. And the report also called India the world's most populous nation. This picture, overall picture of our population will be clear once the census concludes. The last decennial census was conducted in 2011. As you all know, our country is preparing for the next census, which will be completed by March 2027, as the government has announced. And from next year, we will start enumeration. So what is TFR and what is replacement level? So what is total fertility rate? The total fertility rate measures the number of children a woman is expected to have throughout her reproductive age. And what is replacement level, TFR? It is the rate needed for each generation to replace the previous generation's population. So in simple terms, total fertility rate means the number of children a woman is expected to give birth during her childbearing age. That is the menstruating age. And what is this replacement level? Suppose there is a father and mother and they have got a kid. For example, son or a daughter. But this one kid can't replace both the father and mother. So in order to replace both father and mother, there must be at least 2 kids. So I think it's clear. So that is replacement level TFR. So the article said that India has fallen behind the replacement level of 2.1. But the surprising fact is that the report also mentions that India's youth population remains significant, with about 26% of the population in the age bracket of 10 to 24, which is a good feature for a developing country like India. That means we have demographic dividend, and demographic dividend is very much useful for a country. Further, the report estimates that 68% of the population in India is of working age, that is 15 to 64. So we definitely have the advantage of demographic dividend. So what is this demographic dividend? It refers to the economic growth potential resulting from country's age structure, particularly when the proportion of the working age population, that is 15 to 64 years, is larger than non-working age population. Non-working age population, in that includes elderly and children. So this demographic dividend is a window of opportunity. It can lead to increased productivity and economic output. So we are really blessed, our country is really blessed to have demographic dividend. And here you can also see the total fertility rate per woman in our neighboring countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, and also China. So if there is demographic dividend, there will also be an opposite for demographic dividend. So that is the concept called demographic window. So what is demographic window? It refers to a situation where a country or region experience a significant decline in population growth. It can be due to various reasons like low fertility rates, aging populations, or increased mortality rates. So what demographic window will cause to an economy? This trend results in shrinking workforce, a growing dependent population, primarily the elderly, and long-term economic and social challenges. This phenomenon has been observed in various countries, especially in Europe and East Asia. So this demographic window can impact on economic growth. It will lead to shrinking labor force. There will be severe labor shortages in these countries, and there will be greater pressure on healthcare, pensions, and social security systems. And these will create greater pressure on the younger working population. They will have to look after the elderly. Here, you can also find a practice question. Actually, this question appeared in GS1 in the UPSC Mains 2024 paper. So what is the concept of demographic window? Is the world moving towards such a situation? Elaborate. It's a 10-marker question. So if you're interested, you can practice this question. Okay, so this is an homework for you. So here we have a PYQ from 2024. Here the question is, the total fertility rate in an economy is defined as. So we have already seen the total fertility rate refers to the average number of live births a woman would have by the end of her childbearing age. That is the correct option. We also have another PYQ from the same year, 2024. Here the question is a little more interesting. Please pay attention. Consider the following countries: Italy, Japan, Nigeria, South Korea, South Africa. Which of the above countries are frequently mentioned in the media for their low birth rates or aging population or declining population? Here I have already boldened the answer. So actually, Italy, Japan, and South Korea experiences a declining population, whereas the other two African countries, Nigeria and South Africa, Nigeria is the world's fourth most populous country in the world. So that means Nigeria also is blessed with a demographic dividend. Whereas on the other hand, South Africa is also witnessing a population explosion. So South Africa is also on the path to demographic dividend. So if you are looking all over the world, if you are taking a global picture, Europe definitely has low fertility rates and declining population. On the same lines, East Asian countries, especially the developed East Asian countries like Japan and South Korea, is also witnessing ultra low birth rates. Whereas Africa, interestingly, if we take the example of sub-Saharan Africa, they have high fertility rates and rapid population growth. So altogether, Africa is also on the path to demographic dividend, which is good for their economy. Coming to the next article, here we have a news on Deputy Speaker, initiate proceedings to elect Deputy Speaker. So it becomes important to know what is the post of Deputy Speaker. Despite being a constitutionally envisaged post vital for ensuring impartiality and continuity in the functioning of Lok Sabha, the office of the Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha has remained vacant throughout the 17th Lok Sabha and continues to be unfilled in the 18th Lok Sabha. So, Deputy Speaker's post is actually a constitutional post, but it was vacant in the last Lok Sabha and it remains vacant, interestingly, in the 18th Lok Sabha, that is the present Lok Sabha also. So, while the Constitution sets no fixed timeline for the appointment, the use of shall and as soon as may be in Articles 93 and 178 makes the election mandatory. So actually, the Constitution mentions the post of Deputy Speaker in Articles 93 and 178, And there is no fixed timeline for the appointment of deputy speaker. The constitution uses the words shall and as soon as may be. So now let's look at the constitutional provisions. Article 93 says it provides that Lok Sabha must, as soon as may be, choose two members of the House to be respectively Speaker and Deputy Speaker. So Article 93 says there must be a Speaker and a Deputy Speaker. And Article 94 provides the procedures for the vacation, resignation, and removal of both the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha. And Article 95, Clause 1 speaks about the Deputy Speaker and his duties, what he must perform. Deputy Speaker performs the Speaker's duties when the Speaker's post is vacant and exercises the same powers while presiding over the House. All references to the Speaker in the rules are deemed to be references to the Deputy Speaker as well for the times when he or she presides. That is, whenever the Deputy Speaker presides, if the Speaker is absent, the Deputy Speaker presides the office of the Speaker. Article 178, it contains the corresponding provision for the Speakers and Deputy Speakers in the state assemblies. Now, the election process. The Deputy Speaker as well as Speaker is elected from among the Lok Sabha members by a simple majority of those present and voting. And this is mentioned in the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in Lok Sabha, which governs the election. The Speaker fixes the date for electing the Deputy Speaker. So the Speaker is fixing the date for the election of Deputy Speaker. And the opposition party has held the post of Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha on several occasions. But please pay attention, it is not mandated, neither by constitution nor by any law. It is just a convention. It's just a convention that the post of Deputy Speaker goes to the opposition party. And it is not mentioned in the constitution nor in any law. No separate oath is required. Only the MP's oath under the 3rd schedule suffices. Now, the removal procedure. The Deputy Speaker, like the Speaker, holds office during the life of the Lok Sabha, but may vacate it earlier in the following cases, that is, ceases to be a Lok Sabha member, resigns by writing to the Speaker. So Deputy Speaker resigns by writing to the Speaker, and removed by a resolution passed by a majority of the total Lok Sabha membership, that is absolute majority. So here you may be confused about absolute majority. Absolute majority is nothing but a majority of more than 50% of the total membership of the House. That is, if the strength of the House is 545, 50% plus 1 makes it 273. So 273 members has to vote to remove the Deputy Speaker with a 14-day prior notice. Whenever the Deputy Speaker's post becomes vacant, the Lok Sabha elects a new member to fill the position. And here is also a note, whenever the Deputy Speaker is a member of any parliamentary committee, he becomes the chairman of that parliamentary committee. The Deputy Speaker automatically becomes the chairman of any parliamentary committee when appointed as a member of that committee. Now, significance. Why is this office significant? So it ensures legislative continuity. So our procedures in Lok Sabha must go uninterrupted. So if there is an absence of Speaker, the post of Deputy Speaker will maintain that procedures are conducted accordingly and there is no legislative paralysis. Also, it is a constitutional authority. The Constitution mentions the post of Deputy Speaker in Article 93. So it is an independent constitutional position and it's not subordinate to the Speaker because the office is also associated with key parliamentary committees such as the Rules Committee. And neutral and impartial role. Both Speaker and Deputy Speaker must function above party affiliations because then only we can uphold democratic values and close cooperation. Democratic inclusion and consensus building. It is very much required in order to maintain institutional balance and promote inclusivity and parliamentary leadership. Even if it's traditionally offered to opposition, it is very much required to maintain consensus. and democratic inclusion that will only enhance our parliamentary leadership, and it will in turn reinforce democratic values. So the office of the Deputy Speaker in India is not symbolic, but it's an essential pillar of parliamentary democracy. Upholding this office is a test of respect, and it ensures our government is a rule-based governance, and it also ensures institutional integrity and democratic resilience. So if the government is enacting on appointing deputy speaker, it goes against the spirit of the constitution. Now coming to the last article, why Kerala wants Wildlife Protection Act to be amended. Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, Kerala wants it to be amended to allow the killing of certain wild animals that foray into human habitat and pose a threat to life and property. As you all know, human-animal conflict is increasing day by day, and our state, especially Kerala, is witnessing increased human-animal conflict. Not only Kerala, if you are taking all over India, almost all the states in certain forms are witnessing man-animal conflict. So what are the factors leading to man-animal conflict? Of course, deforestation. To expand residential areas, we are clearing forest. And monoculture of plantations like coffee, tea, eucalyptus, etc., which leads to fragmentation of wildlife corridors and forest areas. Also, increased grazing of domestic cattle in the forest areas. Also, changing cropping patterns also attract animals. And the major point is habitat destruction due to spread of invasive alien species like 𝗓𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃, for example. Kerala has declared man-animal conflict as a state-specific disaster. So with this, we come to the end of this session. Thank you. Please follow our channel for more updates. Have a nice day.